Okay. Kum lernen ablat Gemara. We are up to today's Gemara Daf Lamed Amud Aleph. In our Mishnah, Rabbi Yechon Mezakeh said that after the Churban Beis Hamikdash is they should be blowing shofar the chol mokum sheyesh boy bezin, wherever there's a bezin. Then we had Rabbi Loza said no, that's only in the Yavna. And then we had Amru Loi that said no, we have the Yavna anywhere else. And we had a Machlekes Rishonim. How do you understand Pshat Gemara if they're one of them, either Tanakama or Amru Loi holds that not only permanent bezins, but even a temporary bezin, if they join together, they be blow shofar there. So now the Gemara wants to know when it says over here, bezin doesn't mean dafke in front of the bezin. Doesn't mean dafke while the bezin is convening, because bezin used to convene only in the morning until noon, and then they left for the day. So we'll have two different versions here. Amar Rav Huna, the very bottom of the page, Amar Rav Huna says the im bezin. It has to be with the bezin. That's when they blow. What do you mean with the bezin? My the im bezin. What do you mean with the bezin? It means bifnei bezin, only in front of the bezin, not stam wherever you are. Dafkin from a bezin, can you blow? La fuke, and what is it coming to be to negate? Shoyl shalei bifnei bezin the but if you're not in front of a bezin, you can't. So the first version of Rav Huna is only in front of a bezin. Okay, Moshe Rav asked a question from our Mishnah. It says in the second half of the Mishnah, there's another advantage of Yerushalayim over Yavne, that any neighboring city, if you can see and hear and it's close by, they also blow. What do you mean? And furthermore, if you could take just what the Mishnah says, that also the neighboring areas to Yerushalayim can read, then when we just say, she said, this is what Yerushalayim has advantage over the Yavna. Yerushalayim taking, it must be Yerushalayim, in Yerushalayim, taking Yechidin, that means in Shalayim, anybody can blow shofar. And this is what the Mishnah is saying. First, must be one advantage. When it says V'oidzes means there's a second advantage in Shalayim Yavna. What's the first advantage? So the first advantage is as follows: in Yerushalayim, Toikin Yechidin, in Yerushalayim, every individual blows shofar, but in the Yavna, but it comes to Yavna, ain't Toikin Yechidin. In Yavna, only those who represent the bezin can blow, not every individual. And that's what Gemara says. So that's the difference. Yerushalayim, everyone can blow. And before we go further, Gemara asks, the Yavna ain't Toikin Yechidin. In the Yavna, you don't have individuals blowing. Okay, also Rabbi Yitzchak Bar Yosef Amar, he said, when the Chazan finished blowing shofar in Yavna, a person couldn't hear the sound coming to his ears. There were so many individuals all around Yavna blowing shofar with those who missed the minyan. And at the davening they came, or they were still at home, they all blew shofar wherever they were. So it seems that individuals also blew in Yavna. This is Pshat. In Yerushalayim, Toikin, Bein Bizman Bezin, Bein Shalei Bizman Bezin. Yerushalayim, they blew all day long. Not only in the morning when the Bezin convened, but even when the Bezin went home. In the Yavna, Bizman Bezin, in the Yavna, they only blew at the time when Bezin convened, but Shalei Bizman Bezin Loi. But in Yavna, in the afternoon, they didn't blow. Bizman Bezin, but now we get this leading up to his question, the only difference is the time. But what about where you actually blew? It seems that the difference between Yerushalayim and Yavna was on the times when they can blow. But where you can blow, it's all the same, and that is you go anywhere. What are you, Rabbi Huna, coming along and saying that the only place you can blow shofar on Shabbos is in front of a bezin? Take him alone now. Who told you to make that distinction? Maybe the pshat as follows. According to Rav Huna, the Yerushalayim take it in Yerushalayim have a mile bein bifnei bezin, bein shalei bifnei bezin. In Yerushalayim, they were able to blow not only in front of the bezin, but even outside the bezin. Ubi Yavna, when it comes to Yavna, bifnei bezin, in shalei bifnei bezin loy. So Rav Huna is right. In Yavna and everywhere else, they only blew allowed shofar on Shabbos in front of a bezin. But in Yerushalayim, when it says this is one advantage, and plus there's another advantage. The neighboring area. What was the first advantage? That it doesn't have to be in front of a bezin. It can be outside of a bezin, even outside of a bezin. But everywhere else has to be dafk in front of a bezin, like Rav Huna. But the time, everywhere you have to blow only the time the bezin convenes, which is in the morning. Says the Gemara. The others who understood Rabbi Huna, that his comment was on the following din. See, it says, "Am b'yom kippurim taviru shofar b'chol artzachem." On Yom Kippur, you should pass the shofar throughout your entire land. It says clearly, where do you blow the shofar? Everywhere, to proclaim that it's jubilee, that it's Yevul. Melamed, it comes to teach you, should call yochid v'yochid chayiv l'koyah, because of b'chol artzachem throughout the land. So everyone has a chiyuv. What do you want to blow shofar? Over here, Rav Huna can't, if you're talking about Yovel, it cannot be said, when it says in Bezdin, as we'll see in a minute, cannot mean that on Yovel we should blow dafk in front of a Bezdin, because it's B'chol Artzchem throughout the entire land. Must mean in the time that Bezdin convenes. So therefore it says here, Rav Huna might be Bezdin. In this case, when it comes to Yovel, what it means is Bezman Bezdin. It must mean, over here we have a Breda, but to learn, it means the time. It should be done in the morning. But outside the morning, it shouldn't be done. Mosi Rabbi has a question that says Tkiyas Rosh Hashana V'Yovel. The Tkiya, many people omit the word Rosh Hashana. We're talking about Yovel now. The Tkiya of Yovel is Doiche Shabbos. The Tkiya of Yovel is Doiche Shabbos B'Gulim. That the Tkiya of Yom Kippur, which is Yovel, even on Shabbos in throughout Israel. Ish ubeisai, a person and his family. Now, what do you mean, person's family? My Isha basis, person's family, what? His wife. Ilam Ish, his wife. It's a time-bound mitzvah. The whole mitzvah says magram b'dashim torah. So, what mean Isha basis, a man and his family? And Allah, it means Ish b'beisai, a person in his house. That every person can blow Ish b'beisai. Everybody can blow in the house on Shabbos. And it seems, and there's no qualifications and limitations as to when. It sounds like any time of the day. You would have said that the shofar from Yovel has to be blown bisman bezdin, it convenes, which is in the morning. It seems from there's no limitations. Says the Gemara, like no, bisman bezdin. The will say, you're right. Everybody blows wherever they are, but when? Only in the morning. And this is different than Rosh Hashana. Before we said that it can only be done in front of a bezdin. That's a Shoshana shofar. This is the Yovel shofar. And by the Yovel shofar, it says it should be blown throughout the land. So therefore, anywhere. Mostly, but Rav Sheshes will ask a question. It says we had before. Shav haYovel l'Rosh Hashana. We had a machlekes that Kamar Buda that Yovel is equal to Rosh Hashana l'Tkiyah, to the sound of Tkiyah, to the number, and l'brachas, and to how many brachas. Not a musaf. And Ella should be Yovel taking. And then it says, a Yovel, you blow. Bein bebezin shekitzu is a chaydish, or bein bebezin shalekitzu is a chaydish. But by Yovel you blow whether it's in a bezin that mekadosh the chaydish, any bezin, even the bezin that's not mekadosh the chaydish, you blow it on Shabbos. V'chol yochid v'yochid chayiv l'koyah, and every individual has to blow. What is Shoshana lahay taken on Shoshana didn't blow. Ella bebezdin shekitzu by the chaydish. On Shoshana you can only blow by the bezin that was mekadosh the chaydish. But you don't have that every single person has to blow. What do you mean? My ain kol yochid v'yochid chayil koya. What do you mean you don't have to blow every individual? Even when we're talking about Yovel, Taikin, Yechid, is he trying to say that in Shoshana we don't have a chiv to blow individually? That in Yovel everyone has to blow, and in Shoshana ain't Taikin, Yechid, individuals don't blow. Okay, also Rabbi Yitzchak Bar Yosef Amar, he told us clearly that when Shoshana falls out on Shabbos, individuals also blew. When the Shliach Tzibur finished blowing the shofar on Shabbos, in Yavna, they couldn't even hear the sounds coming to the ears. Everyone blew. So even on Rosh Hashanah, falling out on Shabbos, where there's a bezin, everyone used to blow. Elalav, isn't it? It'll be Yovel by Yovel. The difference between Yovel and Rosh Hashanah is as follows on Shabbos. The Yovel taking Bain Bisman Bezin, Bain Shalei Bisman Bezin. On Yovel, everyone blew individual, but any time of the day. Not like Rabbi Huna that says only while the Bezin convenes. Or Rosh Hashanah is Bisman Bezin in Shalei Bisman Bezin. But Rosh Hashanah, everyone also has to blow, but only in the time when Bezin convenes. It's a Kasha Rabbi Huna. Autonomy is what do we learn from all this? That it comes to Yovel, Bain Bisman Bezin, Bain Shalei Bisman Bezin. Whether it's a time of Bezin, whether Bezin is not coming in the afternoon, it's to blow. Kasha Rav Huna says that then when it comes to Yovel, it can only blow in the morning. Anymore, no. La'olam bisman bezin. it's talking about only when Bezin convenes. So what's the difference between Yovel and Rosh Hashanah? V'hachitane, be Yovel and Yovel in the morning, Bezman Bezin. Taking, where do you blow? Okay, every individual, where? Bein bifnei Bezin, bein shaloi bifnei Bezin. Anywhere. On Rosh Hashanah, during the time of the Bezin convening, an individual may blow, but where? The Rosh Hashanah taking Bizman Bezin, u bifnei Bezin. Even if the individuals are blowing, they have to do it in front of the Bezin. Yeah. Says Gemara, in other words, our Rosh Hashanah individuals also blew. It wasn't just the Bezin who blew, but they blew it inside or in front of the Bezin. We ain't taking, we don't blow. Even on Yovel, you don't blow, only while Bezin is convening. So Boyd Abzay, this means only in the morning. So there's a question. What about the time when they're about to leave the Bezin, but they haven't left yet? Nina Nulama, they're preparing themselves to leave, and the Loy Amdu, but they haven't yet left. Mao, can you still blow shofar at that time or not? Bezdin Yoishim Beinin Ba'ika. The Bezman sitting there and they're still sitting. That's the fact that they're still there in their chambers. So therefore, you can still blow Yovel and Rosh Hashanah as well. Ideal was man Bezman. You need a time when they're actually adjudicating. The adjudication part of it is over. They're getting set to leave. Teikos, good question. Then we mentioned another thing Yerushalayim had over Yavne. Yavne was limited to Yavne itself. Yerushalayim, we said, it also increases if you can see, even those outside suburbs, if they can see Yerushalayim, hear Yerushalayim, and close, it's good enough. Do you need, is it pshat, any one of these three? That you can see Yerushalayim, but you can't hear, let's say you're at top of a mountain far away. Or you can hear, you're right mamish there, but you're like in a valley or something you can't really see. Or Kareva, that you're mamish right next door, but you can't cross because there's a river there or something. So any one of these factors is enough to prevent you, or any one of these things is enough to make it easy that you could blow shofar. We have something similar when it comes to the Megillah as well, with the walled city, which we'll see in Gemara Megillah. Says the Gemara, what first of all, let's see, Prat, what are we coming to exclude Liyashev Benach? If you live in a valley, mamish close to Yerushalayim, but you can't see because you're obstructed by the cliffs. Shemas, to hear, Pratli Yeshever, if you're sitting at the top of a mountain, you can see, but you can't hear. Kareva, close, Pratli Yeshever is Chum. Close means that you are sitting outside the Chum. That Kareva means that you are sitting outside of the Chum. Sorry, so you're outside of the Chum. You're not Kareva anymore, even though it's not that far away, but you're not close because on Shabbos you can't walk. And you're able to come is a separate thing. Your mamish next door, you can hear, you can see, and everything else, but there's a river and you cannot cross. Then again, you're not part of it. So in other words, you have to meet all four criteria to say you're an extension of Yerushalayim and you have the same laws on a Shabbos you can blow. Now we're going to have some mishnahs that are similar to what we had in Gemara Sukkah about certain takanas Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai made after the Churban Beis Hamikdash to maintain a continuation of the minhagim and so on that we had, plus always anticipating the binyan Beis Hamikdash Hashlishi. So we have to make sure that they put into place laws that when Mashiach will come, suddenly we won't. We shouldn't have to say, "Oh, but last year we did that," and get all confused. So, but you show in the early days, the Torah says clearly the Beis Hamikdash, you take the lulav shiva 7 days. It says a pasuk, look in the pasuk in the Torah says, "You should rejoice before Hashem 7 days." But with Medina, when it comes to the rest of Israel, is Yom Echad, you only take 1 day. The rest of the world take only 1 day. But Mishachara Beis Hamikdash, after the destruction of Beis Hamikdash, Hiskin Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai, Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai made a takana, Shehei lulav nitul b'Medina shiva. That a lulav everyone should take a lulav for the entire sukkah 7 days. Why? Zeichel Hamikdash, to remember the Beis Hamikdash. So interesting. We put in takanas into place, Zeichel Hamikdash, to remember the Beis Hamikdash like this, and then we put takanas into place, Zeichel Churban. I'll be too happy. You have to leave a spot in the wall that's that's not completely painted and so on. So we have this dichotomy. We try to remember the destruction. Basically, English, we break a glass at a simcha. You always have to remember the destruction. At the same time, you always have to remember the fact that we're going to rebuild it. And somehow or another, we're able to have these two memories and percolating through us, and live with both of them. Live with the downside and the positive side at the same time. And this makes us better people, so we can face reality and yet always be optimistic that things are going to improve. And that's what Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai is brilliant, what he did. You can't escape reality and live in a bubble. On the other hand, you have to always live in an optimistic way. Zeichel Churban, Zeichel Migdash. And then it says, Ushiyahei, and the last thing he did was, which we learned, Shiyahei Yom Hanaf, the day that you have to wave, the Omer Kula Asa. So the law is the second day of Pesach, you're not allowed to eat any of the new crop until they brought this barley offering. It's called Minchas Omer. And if you're out, and whatever time was brought, that's when everything became permitted. If you lived far away from the Beis HaMikdash, you had no idea what time it was. So we assumed that by noontime, it was done. And then technically, as soon as the day comes, you already can eat, but they waited till the carbon was brought. Once the Beis HaMikdash was destroyed, he said, you know what? The entire day is going to be usher, and we are not going to, so that's, you're not allowed to eat till the third day of Pesach and not the second day of Pesach. And we'll see in a minute why. So, first of all, Minolan Daf is Hamikdash. How do you know you're supposed to even remember the Beis Hamikdash? Says the Gemara, because it says in Pasuk, Ki Allah ruchulach u'mimakasaycha. I'm going to eventually cure you from all your ills. No much time to the Eibishter. And it says why? Kinidach we're talking about how you were rejected, and this is talking about Yerushalayim. And Doidesh Einla. The problem is, there's nobody making any inquiries about what happened to Tzion. Miklal the Boidish is right, that, and the Abish is lamenting the fact that nobody's making inquiries. That means that we're supposed to constantly inquire about Tzion, even when it's raised to the ground. And you said the second one was that the entire day should be us. The question is my time. Why should the entire day be usher? Technically, as soon as it comes in the morning, the second day, you're allowed to eat the new tour. There's no Beis HaMikdash, you should be permitted straight away. Says the Gemara, because we believe the Beis HaMikdash we built speedily, the Yom and the people will stay. 1 second. Last year, last year we followed the Torah, you're allowed to eat the new crop as soon as it came the sunrise. Now the Beis HaMikdash built, why should it be any different? That's what they would think. But with a Yodi, they don't realize that now that we have a carbon omer, you have to wait for the carbon omer. Last year, there was no carbon omer, therefore, hey, as soon as the sunrise, everything being committed. Now that there's a barley offering, that you should wait for the barley offering. So Gemara says, I still don't understand. Because so why all day? We know generally we can assume that it happened by 12 o'clock. So therefore, let's make it. He should make the kana that you have to wait until noontime before you can go ahead and eat the new crop. The Mivne Amos. When is it built? When was this Beis HaMikdash going to be built? It was built on the 16th of the Chalamoid. So on the 15th. Before the Beis HaMikdash was built on the 16th day, the first day of Chalamoid, the morning it was already sunrise. There was no Beis HaMikdash, so therefore it wasn't ready yet. So therefore, you were allowed to eat in the morning. So when was this Beis HaMikdash built? It was built on the 15th. So why make a takana the entire or earlier? If it was built the first day Yom Tov or earlier, then we go back to the normal rules that we can assume that by noontime the carbon was brought. The night before you bring the carbon, you have to go out there and harvest, and you have to go through and sift it many, many, many times. The whole process there, as we learned, and we're learning Gemara Menachos, but it could be done. So if the Beis HaMikdash is built on the first day Yom Tov or prior to that, if you go back to the normal rules that by 12 o'clock, by noon, it's permitted. Why would you have to ask the entire first day? Gemara says there's a possibility that they won't be able to bring it. You have a chiyuv to bring the carbon, but they won't be able to bring it early. What's that? The Tanan, first of all, we asked a question. We learned that those who live far away from Shemaim could assume that it was already brought up by noon. Bezin would not be lazy; they would go ahead and bring it up as soon as they could. We're talking about the evening bechamesa. The Beis HaMikdash was built on the first day Yom Tov, right before Shkia, or Inami. The evening was built actually at night, and therefore. So they had to then go and harvest, and they were short of time. They won't be ready until the next day, late afternoon. And that's why we made takana. In case it happens that the Beis HaMikdash was built on the first day Yom Tov or the night of Chalamoid, and therefore we need more time than to go and harvest, you can't and to sift and all that, they won't be able to bring the carbon until late afternoon, and that's why we decided the entire day is us. So Rashi asked an interesting question. How can you build the Beis HaMikdash the first day Yom Tov? It's Yom Tov. And we learned you're not allowed to build, on Yom Tov and build on Shabbos. Plus, Mikdashi Torah. And plus, at night you're not allowed to build a base of Mikdash. So what's going on here? So Rashi comes up with the Chiddush, and he doesn't bring a source, which tells us clearly that Rashi had midrashim that we don't have. But Rashi says that the third base of Mikdash would not be built by mankind, would be built by the Eibishter, and it will come down from heaven, and therefore it can come down on Yom Tov, it can come down at night because it was built already prior to that. And so on. Other Rishonim say that, or it says that of course we're going to build, but the Eibishter also has built. There's like Yerushalayim Shalmailu, Yerushalayim Shalmata. There's a base of Mikdash above and base of Mikdash below. As soon as we finish or we build ours, the Eibishter then will bring down his Ruchazik base of Mikdash. So we might have finished building out before Yom Tov, but the Eibishter didn't descend until Yom Tov itself, or until the nighttime. And that's when we are ready to start doing the Avodah in the base of Mikdash. We had to wait for the Eibishter to come down as well. Teis and Sukkah agrees with Rashi, and I think Teis and Sukkah brings a medrash that says that. I'm not hearing about what that the Eibush is building for the Beit Mikdash. The Mikdash Hashem koinu yodecha, and if the Eibush is Mikdash, Hashem prepares it. Anyway, you know why? You want to know? I'll give you another answer. You want to know why Rabbi Yechon and Zakkai decided the entire day is Asur? Not because the Beit Mikdash might be built on the 15th. Or maybe he wasn't happy with the idea that the Beis Hamikdash will be built in Yom Tov, even the Eibishter's. Is B'shittas Rabbi Yehuda. He follows Rabbi Yehuda that says actually Mahat Torah, it's not sunrise that permits it; it's sunset. The entire day is Asur anyway. In fact, when you bring a carbon, that's a leniency. You don't have to wait till sunset. You can bring it early. Now there's no carbon. You got it. The whole day is Asur. It's not a kana for Rabbi Yechon. It's actually a din in the Torah. He follows Rabbi Yehuda. It says the pasuk it's forbidden until this very day the new crop. So he dashens ad doesn't mean ad v'loy ad b'chal until but not inclusive. It means ad v'ad b'chal. It means inclusive. Ad ad atzma sh'liyem till the day itself. He holds ad v'ad b'chal all included. Says Gemara. Me Savale you want to tell me that Rabbi Yechon and Zakkai agrees with Rabbi Yehuda? Well, Hamafli probably argues that when the Beis Hamikdash is destroyed, Hiskin Rabbi Yechon ben Zakkai, Rabbi Yechon made takana. She gave me a close and tight. She also, Rabbi Yehuda said, "Well, my Torah also. What do you mean takana? Also, with the Rabban. See, it's my Torah. It's also see ad etzem hayemazeh. Clearly, we see Rabbi Yechon ben Zakkai is arguing with Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda says that the entire day is also my Torah. Rabbi Yechon ben Zakkai said it's only a takana. Rabbi Yehuda actually argued Rabbi Yechon ben Zakkai. Not even Rabbi Yehuda said, just Rabbi Yehuda. So the Gemara, Hasam Rabbi Yehuda the Katoy. Rabbi Yehuda actually made a mistake. He thought Rabbi Yechon ben Zakkai was midrabanan. Because Rabbi Yechon ben Zakkai used the word takana, he thought it was purely midrabanan. So Rabbi Yehuda, we're talking about smart Torah. But really midaraisa kama. Rabbi Yechon ben Zakkai was actually meant that mahat Torah. If there's no carbon, the entire day is forbidden to eat from the new crop. He used the word takana, but hiskin tani. My hiskin, what he meant the word hiskin is dorash hiskin. He dashed the pasuk the way Rabbi Yehuda did. Ad etzem hayem, that means inclusive. And then he says, and therefore it is asan mehat Torah. So that the takana was we have to dash in the pasuk this way. Rashi already points out that it's impossible. Rabbi Yehuda was having a discussion with Rabbi Yechon ben Zakkai. Rabbi Yehuda's Rebbe was Rabbi Akiva, whose Rebbe was Rabbi Elazar ben Hurkanis, whose Rebbe was Rabbi Yechon ben Zakkai. There's no way Rabbi Yehuda was even saw Rabbi Yechon ben Zakkai. It's 2 generations later, so he wasn't having a discussion with him. He just after in Beis Medrash he was discussing with the Rabbanim at that time. How could Rabbi Yechon ben Zakkai say this and this when it's a Mahat Torah? And we conclude Rabbi Yechon ben Zakkai also agrees that's Mahat Torah according to this Rav Nachum Yitzchak. Next Mishnah, other takanas we learned, and we learned this before as well. Says the Gemara, we had all this in Sukkah. Body shine in the beginning, in the beginning, Eidos come for the new month, especially on Tishrei, any time of the day. Pamachas once happened, Nishtahu, Eidim beloved, Eidim were delayed. When it's Kalku Halavim, the Eidim were delayed. So then it comes to the Shir, they used to say the Shir by Shachris, they assume they don't know if it's Yom Tov, they always did the weekday. But when it comes to the afternoon, they had to do the right share, and they did the wrong share because the Eidim still haven't appeared. So they did the last carbon of the day, and they signed the wrong share. Hiskinu, and then suddenly Eidim appeared. So and it turned out to be today was Rosh Hashana. Even though the people conduct themselves the last 24 hours like Rosh Hashana because they weren't sure maybe it'll be Yom Tov. And in fact, we learned before probably the Yom Tov, so they didn't do any work and everything else. But in the base of Mikdash, you had to do it correctly. So when it came Tamid Shabbeinu Abayim, nobody showed up. So they sang the normal shir, the weekday shir. They won't accept to receive Eidim until Mincha. They don't show up by Mincha. It's not Rosh Hashanah. They'll do the normal shir. So what happens if they come after Mincha? So what they did is as follows. They wouldn't declare Rosh Chodesh till the next day, and tomorrow will be Rosh Hashanah, and you'll count your 10 days from Kippur for tomorrow. But the rest of today, they'll continue to maintain it Rosh Hashanah. The rest of that day, Midrabanan, they treat it like Rosh Hashanah. Otherwise, next year people say, well, I'm not going to work. I remember last year, it was a waste of time because it turned out to be, it wasn't even Rosh Hashanah. This way, it will treat like Rosh Hashanah, and people won't take it lightly. So that's now after the Chur Beis Hamikdash, what happened? Rabbi Yechon ben Zakkai, now that it didn't impact on the carbon, they were Mekabel Eidos all day, and so if Eidim came even late in the afternoon, they would declare Terei Shana, and they would count the 10 days from today. Now Tosfos asked a very interesting question, and all the Rishonim talk about the Shakzariah and Al-Zeb Shulchan. Why is it that we're worried about the shir? What about the fact they missed out on carbon musaf? If it's Rosh Hashanah, if it's Rosh Chodesh, you have to bring carbon musaf. And every Rosh Chodesh, and Rosh Hashanah is Rosh Hashanah. And if it's a weekday, you don't bring carbon musaf. Isn't that a far greater loss than the kind of song that they sang at the carbon? So Tosfos and many Rishonim want to argue that even though you're not allowed to bring any karbonos after the carbon Tamid Shabbeinu Abayim, but we know that carbon Pesach he can, and we learned that after the Tessim Psachim, that if somebody was a mechutza kippurim, if somebody didn't bring the final carbon that allows this person to eat from karbonos, we'd allow the kainim to bring that carbon after the carbon Pesach. Why? Because the asay, sheyesh ima karis, the asay, this yid is not going to be able to participate in carbon Pesach, pushes away the asay of not bringing any karbonos after carbon Tamid Shabbeinu Abayim. And the same with musaf. Since the carbon musaf is an asay derabim, it's a mitzvah asay from Klal Yisrael. If the Eidim come after Mincha and they realize today is Rosh Chodesh or today is Rosh Hashanah, they would bring the carbon musaf even after Mincha, and even though you're over an asay, but the asay derabim pushes it away. And then Tosfos brings an asay derabim does push it away. And so the other question is, Tosfos asks, there's a din is if you bring a carbon, you can bring the libations up to 10 days later, or even 10 days later. When do they sing the song during libations? So what's the problem? They brought carbon to Mention Abayim. They wouldn't sing until the libations came along. Don't make the libations and wait. And if the libations come tomorrow, you'll sing it tomorrow, the right song. So it won't make any mistakes. So Tosfos basically one answer is that when do we say you can bring the libations 10 days later is only by a carbon yochid. A private carbon, you could bring the carbon today and the libations 10 days later. And then there was no song there. The carbon tzibur, you had to bring the libations at the time of the carbon. And they sang the wrong song, and that's the problem. Now we'll discuss in the Gemara whether the problem was the wrong song or they decided to not to sing at all. And that was the problem. That was the deficiency. It says in Gemara, Ma kilkul, what exactly did they do wrong? Here we said, amru shir kolika. Here we say in Babel, you know what? They just didn't sing. They didn't know what to do. Is going to be Rosh Hashanah. They decided we'll decline from singing. They sang the wrong song. Shida shel chayil im Tamid Shabbeinu Abayim. They sang the wrong song, and that was the problem. Now Tamid Shachar was no problem since the majority of the years the Eidim anyway didn't appear till later in the morning. So they always sang the weekday shiur for Tamid Shachar. Because but Tamid Shabbeinu Abayim usually Eidim were there by then. So they were supposed to sing the Yom Tov song. Abba's son. It's amazing. 2 days in a row we have this name Abba. Yesterday we had Abba who said, the son of Rav Zayda who said about once you yotze your mitzvah, you can still be mitzvah others. And now Rav Zayda tells Abba, his son, so a very interesting name, Puk Tani Lahu. You have all these woke names and wonder why they don't have Abba, and especially it was a masculine name. Puk, go out, Tani Lahu. And tell the people in Bavel who said that they didn't sing at all, it can't be. Tell them the following brayso. It says they decided they won't be Mekabel Chodesh unless there was time. They had enough time to bring the carbon tamid and the musaf and the libations, and they should sing the song without any mistakes. What without mistake? Mistake means you sang the wrong one. What do you tell me that they didn't sing at all? It sounds clear from here. The problem was a shibush. It was an error. Error was they sang the wrong one. The way I learned that they sang the wrong song, they sang the weekday song. I think a shibush. That's what it means. A mistake. Eli Aming and tell me Lama Cloud. They sang nothing. My shibushika. What mistake? So Gemara answers back. What do you mean? Kivon the Lama Cloud. You're supposed to sing. You didn't sing at all. Ain't lach shibush gadol mazeh. It's an interesting argument here. What's worse, doing something but the wrong thing, or not doing anything at all? Abzeda holds doing something the wrong thing is far worse, and the Bubble says no. When you're supposed to do something, you do nothing at all. At least you did something. Okay, made a mistake. But if you did nothing at all, and that definitely is wrong. You couldn't even convince yourself you did the right thing. Therefore, that's worse. Interesting philosophical discussion. Further, says that the Talmud of Rosh Hashana in the morning, they brought it the normal way. They would say this, they would sing the song, the normal weekday song. And by Musaf Mahoimer, what song would they sing by Musaf? They would sing Haninu Lalakimu Zainu. That Shir Shel Yom that we say on Thursdays is what they sang on Rosh Hashana. It says in the pasuk there, Haninu Lalakimu Zainu, Hariyu Lalakei Yaakov. They would blow. Yaakov, so therefore they thought it was appropriate. That is the shir they would sing on the Karban Musaf and the Karban Tamid Sheben Abayim of Rosh Hashana. Ben Mincha Ma'oimer, and what about Mincha? What would they say? They would say, so we're talking about the Musaf of Rosh Hashana. They would say Haril Lekei Yaakov, and what about the Karban Tamid Sheben Abayim? What would they say? They would say Kol Hashem Yochel Midbar. It says Kol Yochel Midbar, and over there they would say and this would remind, this is about Matan Torah. We're talking about which Koil of Hashem is Yachal Midbar, got every own interpretation in the Midbar. That's the sound of Hashem at the Har Sinai. So therefore, because one of them, the Rav Sadiq going lists of the 10 reasons that you blow shofar, and one of them is to remember Matan Torah. And our schus, that we were the only ones who makabel the Torah. So therefore, that's what you read in the afternoon. Uvizman shechol Rosh Hashana b'chamiv Shabbos. You had a problem. It's a dilemma because Thursday morning you would say this kapitel of Haninu L'Kimu Zainu Haril L'Kei Yaakov. That was Thursday morning, and then by Musaf you would say the same kapitel again, and we don't like repeating the same song twice. So l'chayda, what do you do on Thursday? Shashira shaloi Haninu L'Kimu Zainu. They would not say in the morning the normal shir shachar of Haninu. Why? You'll be repeating it again when it comes to Musaf. Ella Mahu. So what do you say? What do you call it? On Thursday morning, you say Hasireisi Misechel Shichmai. You say that you took Hasireisi, which is the next part of what we say today, Thursday. You say Hasireisi, you remove me, Mesechel Shichmai, you remove me over there from incarceration. So interesting. It sounds like they didn't say that part on Thursday mornings. We say the whole kapitel, and we actually have like 2 kapitel put together. What we say over here, we say the entire kapitel. So it starts off with Hanil L'Kimu Zainu, Yaakov, and then it says Hasireisi Sheichel Shichmai. So they would start from the second half of the kapitel, and maybe in the afternoon they would only say the first half, Hanil L'Kimu Zainu. They didn't say the entire kapitel. Now, why would we say the second half of Thursday morning? Because that also relates to Rosh Hashanah, because it's referring and releasing from incarceration. Yosef, we learned before, was released on Rosh Hashanah. Says the Gemara, V'im bo edim achat tamid shel shachar. What happens? There were no edim there, but it came tamid shel shachar Thursday morning. What do you do then? And so knows when you were bringing your carbon tamid shel shachar, you had no idea, will today be Rosh Hashanah? Won't it be Rosh Hashanah today or not? You just so it says here, Oimer Haninu. You say Haninu afa pisha chayzu karebe. You say it again, even though you repeat it again. And the way Rashi learns clearly is that they said they divided this kapitel into half. So they would say if they said in the morning, they only said the first part, Haninu L'Kimu Zainu, and it's only on Rosh Hashanah that they say the second part on Thursday morning, Hasireisa. So what do you do? So the Gemara says they would, if they didn't know it would be Rosh Hashanah today, they would take the normal weekday Rosh Hashanah, and then it comes in the afternoon. No, you have no breda. You would repeat it again. So the Gemara, if you say Bishleima, all is well. Whenever you're not sure, will it be Rosh Hashanah today or not? You do say the weekday shira. That's exactly what it says. So what they did was they said the shira in the morning, and then they repeated it again. But you, Bnei Bavel, said when it came to Musa, when it came to Mincha, they didn't know what to do. They said nothing. The Chayr, according to you, they didn't know what to do in the Shach. They also said nothing. So what are we repeating it again? And the Rai says that even though they end up repeating my Musa, that's what you do. But according to you, if they don't know what to do, they said nothing. So that means Thursday morning, they didn't know Rosh Hashanah, according to your Shitta, just like you say Thursday Mincha, they would say nothing because they didn't know will it be Rosh Hashanah or not. So Thursday morning, they also said nothing. Just like you said, any day in the afternoon, they didn't know will it be Rosh Hashanah today or not. They didn't sing the song. So in the morning, Thursday morning, they wouldn't sing it either. So it comes in the afternoon and the Eidim comes, fantastic. You didn't repeat it, you said it for the first time. Your version is said, oh, what do you mean on Thursday? Even though you end up repeating it, according to you, why are you repeating it? Says the Gemara, there's a big difference between Shachris Thursday and what we're talking about everyday Mincha. Everyday Mincha, we're still hoping the Eidim will come, especially we know that generally El was always 29 days. So therefore they said, you know what, we're going to decline, we're not going to sing anything. However, when it comes to Thursday morning, since the Eidim never come in the morning, and therefore, since they never come in the morning, practically never come in the morning, so therefore they said, we said before, every day in the morning they said the Shira of the Chol. So therefore they would have said the Shira of the Chol, and if the Eidim come later, they would be repeating it. So there's a difference between Shachris, where everyone agrees that they would say the Shira of that day because the Eidim hardly ever came that early, versus Mincha, when they assumed the Eidim will come already sometime during the day, that they decided to refrain. Shiny Hasam, the Shira the Yemi, and it's the correct Shira. You're singing in the morning. It is Thursday. Much more than that. It is Thursday, so you didn't do anything wrong. When you say Mincha, a weekday Shira, and it turns out to be Rosh Hashana or Rosh Chodesh, you said the wrong Shira. If it was Thursday morning, we made a special takana on Thursday morning. Don't say the Shira of Thursday morning because it's Rosh Hashana. Say the Rosh Hashana, and in the afternoon you'll say the Shira of Thursday morning. So what happens? The Eidim didn't come, and you're going to say in the morning the Shira of Thursday morning. What did you do wrong? It is the correct Shira anyway. So therefore, since it's the correct Shira, even the Bnei Bavel agreed you should say the Shira. Okay, we'll stop here. We'll continue tomorrow in Mitzvah.
Thank you. Thank
Have a
you.
good day,
Have a good day.
everybody.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.